I grew up in San Bernardino, California. Grew up without a father. Did have a loving mother, but she worked 3 jobs to support me and my sister because she was too proud to be on welfare. Grew up with a lot of anger issues over the fact that my father was never around. So I looked at gangs as my way of acceptance because they make you feel loved. They make you feel like you're part of something, part of a family. So I was part of the Southside Crips. They started me off drug dealing in the corners, beat up people for money. I was a person that if I knocked on your door, it was bad for you because I was coming to collect for the drug man. And I was gonna find out where your children went to school, where your family lived, because if you didn't pay your debt, I was gonna hurt someone you loved. And eventually caught up with me. First night in prison, I was I'm not gonna lie, I was a little scared. I knew that I couldn't show that. I knew that I had to be tough on the outside and people had to see this hard image of me. And I knew that I had to prove that I was big bad. Basically, I proved it because whatever I was ordered to do, I did. There was no help for me inside prison. There was nowhere where I could go and speak to someone. So in my mindset, it was all about survival, to where I did some really awful and horrible stuff in prison. In the real world, stuff that I would not be forgiven for. It's basically kill or be killed in there. It's savage in there. You're constantly in fear that someone's gonna take you out, that another gang is gonna kill you. Your family's threatened in there if you don't do what they say. You think you have friends, there's no friends because you're always watching your back, so it's lonely in there. It's a very lonely place. It's a very scary place. I've seen people go in there and never come back out. She took me to church. I went kicking and screaming. I listened to the pastor, but I heard a word I never heard before, and that is a word of love, a word of second chances. A God who died on the cross, not just for you, and you. He died on the cross for everybody. He shed his blood for everybody. That includes the prisoner, the homeless guy, the forgotten. And trust me, I was forgotten. I was the nobody, and he died for me. When I think about God's grace, I think about when he was dying on the cross, he was in between 2 prisoners. And one prisoner looked at him and said, "Remember me when you get to heaven." That right there told me that God doesn't forget anybody. And if we just say, "God, forgive me. God, come into my life. God, remember me," God will forgive anybody. I only wish that when I was in prison, we had some kind of program where they talked about that love, where they encouraged you that, you know what, even though you've done what you've done, you can be saved. You can be God's child. He loves us all. And God behind bars and churches such as Sun Valley who are willing to go inside those prisons and preach the word, that's what God wants. And he wants everyone to feel his love because not one person is unforgivable. Not one person is beyond redemption. He changed me, the darkest of dark. I've done every single drug you can think of, and not one compares to the love I feel from Jesus Christ. I wish every single prisoner, every single person that grew up in the life I grew up could feel this, because then they would know that, you know what, that life, that way of living is nothing compared to God's love. Best feeling in the world.